They came here back in the 1980s when the bridge was reinforced, and it sort of created, unbeknownst, it was not intentional, created an ideal habitat for these bats. When the bats first settled in, there was a lot of public concern about it because people were somewhat fearful. You know, bats have kind of a reputation.
When these bats first arrived nearly 30 years ago, they made worldwide publicity. Newspapers proclaiming that hundreds of thousands of rabid bats were invading and attacking the citizens of Austin. People were warned that the bats were dangerous. They panicked and wanted them eradicated. I relocated Bat Conservation International to Austin, and we began a campaign to educate people about the values of bats.
Mexican freetail bats are amazing little bats. They're really wonderful. They're very common here in Texas, and they are very comfortable in human-made structures like the Congress Avenue Bridge. They can fly at speeds up to 60 miles an hour. They can fly extremely high, up to 10,000 feet in the air. They eat insect pests that damage crops, and they migrate about 1,000 miles each winter down to Mexico, where they spend the winters. So our colony in Austin is a maternity colony. It's female bats raising their young in Austin for the summer. We still do have very grave concerns about the future of bats, misconceptions about bats that lead people to kill them, and habitat loss.
Fears of bats and about bats are just incredibly persistent, and I'm not sure why bats are demonized to the extent that they are. The whole Dracula scary movie thing has certainly not done bats any good. And the fact that they can get rabies has, for some reason, made them feared by people who think that they all have rabies. Tennis racket comes out, a broom comes out. Hitting a bat is a really sure way to injure fragile wing bones. So they'll come in with broken bones that can actually be repaired. Usually they are not releasable, unfortunately. They can't fly well enough to catch food. They're tiny little things. In the words of Merlin Tuttle, they're gnomes with an overbite.
The bats adapt to us a whole lot better than we typically have adapted to bats. It's amazing how they've adapted to living right here in the center of Austin under a bridge where there are constant sirens going across. As bats first start to emerge, imagine what you'd feel like if you were just coming out of your house and all of a sudden a bunch of giants start clapping and screaming and shining lights on you. With protection, the population has grown rapidly to approximately 1.5 million, and their evening emergences are now one of the most spectacular wildlife events in all of America.
100,000 people a year come to Austin just to see the bats, and of course when they come here they stay in hotels usually, they go out and eat in Austin restaurants, and of course that's a big contribution to our economy, and it also helps put Austin on the map. A few months ago, the Austin City Council named the bat the official animal of Austin. So they have real status here in the city.